We continue in session off season. Next stop, it is Lincoln County High School, where we catch up with girls head coach Will Chomskis. Full disclosure, I know the Chomskis family from other sports. I know them from the other football. I know Will's dad from previous stops as well. But it was good, Will, to get to see you in a soccer sense this season, and we get to tell the story about how soccer is growing at Lincoln County. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us on. And it's just exciting to see the growth in Lincoln County. And when I took over this job, I got hired as the offensive coordinator for football 4 years ago. And the soccer coach at the school was deciding to get out of it. He'd been doing it for a long time. And they came to me and said, "Hey, you've played soccer. So do you want the soccer job?" And I wasn't sure. I'd never coached it. And they said, "Well, you either take it or it doesn't look like we're going to be able to have a program." So I took over coaching the girls and the boys at that point. Luckily, now we have a man by the name of Matthew Hayslip who coaches the boys, who did a very good job this year. And now I'm just the girls. But this season was a lot of firsts for us. It was exciting to see. This was my 4th year with the girls, and the girls have really just bought into. I know I'm a football coach, so I kind of bring some of this mentality of playing hard, play physical, play fast, and we'll teach you the soccer as we go. And so for the first time in school history, we actually won double-digit wins. We had 12 wins on the season. We had our longest winning streak in school history, won 6 games in a row at one point. And we hosted our first ever playoff game in school history and won our first ever playoff game in school history and made the Sweet 16, where we were grateful to have y'all broadcast our game in Atlanta Classical, where we fell a little short to a very good team. And it was an exciting year. The girls program has been to the playoffs one time prior to this past season, which was a year or two before I took over, and they lost to Tryon in the first round. But it was exciting because our numbers are way up. When I took over, our girls I think we had about 14 or 15 girls playing soccer. This season we had 30. We had our first ever full JV schedule. We played 7-8 games, got our first ever JV win of the year, and it's really been growing, which has been exciting for us. Is we've got a lot of girls that are not soccer players playing soccer. We don't have any travel that's within an hour of us. You got to go to Augusta to travel. And a lot of my girls are cheerleaders and softball players and basketball players that I saw them in the hallways teaching and said, "Look, I know you can run. I know you're physical. I can teach you how to kick a soccer ball and make passes and make runs." And it's taken some time, but it was exciting in year 4 to finally see us turn that leaf, because the last 2 years prior to that, we'd actually missed the playoffs by 1 game each season. We had lost in a tiebreaker to LOA and a tiebreaker to Towns the year prior. So it was exciting to see us finally get over the hump and get in the playoffs, and not just be in, but actually win and be competitive against a good Atlanta Classical team.
What has the response been like there in Lincolnton as the program has grown to where it is? I mean, you told me after the match was over the following week that we'd broadcast on SDH that your phone was blowing up with texts about folks who were listening. What has the response been like as the program has been growing?
It's been really awesome. And for people who don't know much about Lincoln County, we're a football powerhouse in the past. We've won 14 state championships in football, and the most winningest coach ever is from here. So girls sports has really not been that important in Lincoln, and not because people didn't care. It just, everything was pushed towards other stuff: baseball, football, basketball. And we've had a huge interest and surge. We've created a middle school program now. They created that about, I think, my first or second year here. They started middle school soccer, and we've been selling out most of our games at home. We've had great crowds, people who don't understand what offsides is or what out of bounds is, or just showing up and wanting to cheer for us. The amount of text and support we're getting from families that don't even have kids that are playing, which is just awesome. We've got teachers who, I've never been to a soccer game, but I went to 4 this year. So we're in a great community. It's a very small, we have about 300 and maybe 40 kids in our 9 through 12. So we're not a big school at all, but our community is very behind our kids. It's a great place to be. And they've really bought into seeing the success that we've grown. And it's cool to look across the field and the stands are full with, they might be yelling the wrong thing, but they're at least trying to yell for us.
When you took over and you were coaching both programs, how much of a task was that for you to juggle your teaching, your other sports, and then making sure that the program survived? And I mean that in the sense of, as you said earlier, the program would not have existed probably if you didn't take the job when you were first basically shown it. So, I mean, how much of a task was it for you to maintain the program starting out of the blocks?
So I was actually very blessed. It's a lot of work trying to do too. And I was blessed to have two community coaches who had been involved with the programs. A man by the name of Jeremy Walton helped really start this program, and he coaches with the boys. So he has done an amazing job. I think that he's done a good job of trying to teach the kids the game of soccer in such a small area that when it came to the boys, he kind of coached the boys, and I was there trying to help them. And then there was a man by the name of Chris Bundrick that's been helping with the girls, and his son played soccer for the boys, and he's been a great asset. To be honest, I don't know how good of a coach I even am, but I've got two great community guys that have done a great job of buying in and helping. So, I mean, it was tough, but to be honest, as they could have been okay if they could have found someone to go out on the field. I think that I added a little soccer knowledge and some grit about, the football background and being able to do some of those things. But I've been blessed that even this year with the girls, Coach Bundrick is still with me. My sister has moved into town and she played soccer. She actually was a community coach for me. And the coolest thing was I had a former player named Caitlin Rayleigh who graduated last year. And she came back and said, Coach, I'm going to be going to school in Augusta. I want to still be involved. And so she became a community coach as well. So seeing it grow from it was one community guy trying to run everything and Jeremy Walton to having another guy, Chris Bundrick. And then I was able just to kind of come in and give some stability where you've got a teacher and someone that's going to be out here and that cares and wants to work and knows the game. And I know the game. I'm more of a football guy, but I became a soccer guy in high school and started playing and was reffing soccer through high school and college and fell in love with the game. And so I will say that it's not just me. I've got some amazing community guys around us that has really helped this program grow.
What did you learn about yourself as a coach in this season where you had all of these fantastic advancements happen for the program, you think?
I can tell you the one thing that I've learned the most as a coach is coaching girls soccer. I had to learn how to coach without yelling and screaming all the time. Now I'm a loud person. That's being an offensive line coach, being football and all that stuff. But I learned how to teach instead of just yell sometimes and demand. But I learned that the girls have really bought into what we're selling. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my community coaches. The girls that are involved in our program have really bought in to working hard. And they know that we might not all be soccer players, but we can beat teams that we're not supposed to beat, and we can compete if we work hard. And I'm really blessed to have a good group of girls. And we only graduated 5 seniors this year, and 2 of them were starters. One of them started by the end of the year. And I've got a huge junior class about to become seniors this year. And it's been exciting to see they've come in year one with me and have kind of grown with me, because I don't consider my first year the first year, because that's when COVID hit and we only played 8 or 9 games and then the season got cut. So that was kind of hard was that a first year or was it half a season? But I've seen I'm proud of the girls that I'm not always the easiest to play for. Even during the games, I can be loud. I want to make sure that we're doing it right. But they've bought into being coached hard and just taking it and going with it.
How would you describe soccer in the Class A D2 classification for those who've never seen it, never been a part of it? In your region itself, it's Aquinas, it's Lake Oconee, it's Towns, Lincoln, GMC, Greene, and Washington Wilkes. And Washington Wilkes in Lincoln County, we all know about Washington Wilkes in Lincoln County and what goes on 378. But for somebody who's never seen single A soccer, single A girls soccer on the D2 level, how would you describe it from a competitive standpoint? Do the rivalries carry over from other sports to kind of give that extra bit of energy? How would you break down what Class A D2 soccer is on the girls' side?
I tell you, if you haven't seen soccer at our level, just because we're smaller schools in more rural areas doesn't mean it's not good soccer. If you look at the single A state champions, the past 2 seasons, the Final Four, 3 of the 4 teams have come from our region, and the state championship has been between our region both times. The first year it was Commerce and Social Circle, and then last year it was Aquinas and Towns. Something that you'll notice if you watch our soccer and our level is there's a physicality to it. You've got rural county girls for the most part, and there's some city schools like Atlanta Classical and Aquinas down in Augusta. But even at those schools, with their technical ability, are physical. They're going to hit you. They're going to bump you. And if you're not ready for that, it's hard to play against us. And that's why you see our region. Our region, 6 teams made the playoffs, and all 6 of them won in the first round of the playoffs. Our 6th seed, who had 2 wins on the season, ended up going on the road and winning by 2 goals. So there's some really good soccer, especially in our area over here in the Northeast near the Augusta area, and Towns, who's way up there in the mountains, that's a long drive, but they play some very physical, very good soccer. And the technical side of it is getting so much better from my first year to now, just watching everybody. The touch is getting better. The passing is getting better. The running without the ball is getting better. And if you haven't seen it, I would really recommend finding some of these smaller schools and come watch it, because even the boys soccer is good. Our boys this year, I'll brag on them a little bit, is Coach Hayslip has come in and he's brought that stability to the boys team, and they won the most games they've won in the past 6 years combined. They won 8 games this year. They've never been to the playoffs, and they went to the playoffs and won on the road against Bowden. So soccer in general, I think, is really growing, especially in the smaller schools, because it's a way for, especially in the girls' sports, for girls to play something in the spring, because all you have to offer outside of that is track and tennis. Here, some schools have lacrosse, but at the smaller schools, you're not going to see that. And it's really growing the technical side, the tactical side. And if you like physical soccer, you would like single A Division II soccer.
Will Chomskis, the girls' head coach at Lincoln County, hanging out with us in session off season, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, hanging out for another couple of minutes. What do you expect, or I guess with these waves coming through, finally getting that first class of experience through there at Lincoln County that have been there with you the entire time? You've got that junior class coming in as rising seniors. To take those next steps as a program, what do you think Lincoln County needs to do down the line?
We've got to keep the numbers up like we had. The hard thing is this group that's about to be seniors, I had 6 or 7 of them had to start as 9th graders. And that's tough because you're thrown in the fire immediately. And we were playing schools like Commerce and Social Circle, who are really good soccer programs. I mean, if you know soccer in Georgia, you know Commerce, you know Social. And they were thrown in the fire and had to fight some really good teams. And we had to get beat pretty bad some of those times. And but for us growing, it's keeping our numbers up. It's keeping into that 25-30 so we can have a JV. I saw so much growth in our 9th and 10th grade girls this year because they were able to play in 8-9 games. And then some varsity games, we were able to get up and get our JV in to play 20-30 minutes. But what's also, we're going to play a little bit harder of a schedule this year. We're looking to now. Last year we're trying to build some confidence. We've always been on the brink, but we never really could find a way to win. And we weren't playing bad teams, but we were playing some teams we knew that we could compete with. Whereas this year we're looking to maybe challenge ourselves. We've got Atlanta Classical back on the schedule. We're going to go back there and play them. I've spoken with Westminster out of Augusta, who is a pretty good program. We're going to play them. We're going to play Troutland from South Georgia, who was in the Elite Eight. I think seeing us grow is now being able to not just beat people we're supposed to beat. Now can we go in and find a way to beat people that people don't think we can beat? Our region with Lake Oconee, I mean, they are tough. They've been a tough game. Aquinas, Towns. I mean, we've got a tough region, and if we want to have a chance to maybe be a 2-3 seed, one, maybe even try to win the region, we got to start playing some better competition and playing well. We always found a way. Those are the 3 games we lost in our region. were the really good ones, and we found a way to lose it by 1 goal here or 1 goal there. It's trying to find that way to turn the corner where we're not losing by 1 goal, we're winning by 1 goal.
Well, Will, it was great to see Lincoln County and see the growth and see the support that was there at the ACA playoff game, and to see how now Lincoln County girls soccer and the soccer program in general is getting momentum there with what you guys are doing out there in Lincolnton. Thanks for hanging out with us here going in session off season. We'll be keeping an eye on you and stay in touch. And when you know what your schedule is, let us know what's going on, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on you next season. Thanks for hanging out with us and going in session.
Yes, sir, will do. And thank you for having us.